Welcome, everybody, to the Fantasy Formula Live. And the gang is all back together to get you ready for Singapore. And we have a lot of questions on our mind as we enter the final hour before lineups lock. Zach and Terry, how are you feeling? And what sort of questions are you jockeying with as we get ready to lock our teams?
Yeah, I'm feeling good about it. I'm feeling good. There was a lot of unanswered questions, obviously, before FP3. But I think people with high budgets are sitting quite pretty now. But I think the main talking point I've had throughout this weekend so far, and I still stick to it, is there a way to bring in two of the three of Piastri, Verstappen, Norris into your team? Because those three look like the clear cut. They've been fast in all of the practice sessions. We know they're going to be up there. And where'd you go with the rest of your team?
Zach, you're in such a good spot because not only do you have the budget, but you have the structure of a team that's already built for a 4A lineup. You've been running Leclerc for the last few weeks, so now you have the flexibility of Max Verstappen, George Russell. You can play around with Red Bull, Mercedes, or Ferrari as your constructor and not run out of free transfers. For teams like myself and Terry that have been running budget builders the past few weeks, it's going to take a bunch of moves to get into a 4A build where either, in the case of my team, I only have 2 free transfers. I might need a -10 to get to that 4A build now, or I have to hold on to a lot of unused budget, run another budget builder, and then potentially take a -10 to get into that team for Coda. So a lot of unenviable options for me this week. Terry, are you in the same boat or are you looking at something different?
No, I'm in the same boat. It's about trying to make moves and trying to actually figure out what I want to do with it. The constructors one is probably the big one, isn't it? Do you drop down to have a constructor? I think Rick's put it in the comments there straight on one of his. I know a country's team in a bit, but a similar sort of thing. Do you drop down for the constructors to bring in another tier driver, or do you try and hold out for another week, try and get a bit of budget? But it kind of feels like, if we've got to keep budget building, what's the point in playing the game, isn't it? And if I'm being brutally honest,
we're running out of races to build budget
exactly.
for, so I get that.
Yeah, exactly. What point do we stop budget build and actually play the game? Is probably what I would say.
Got some friends in the chat. Good morning, Rick. Hi, Mike. I also am totally unsure on what to do. Just keep my fingers and toes crossed that we get an FP3 sim from F1 Fantasy Tools, because the FP2 sim is a little bit heavy on Fernando Alonso and Yuki Tsunoda, and they've come crashing back to earth a bit after FP3. And with that, maybe we can pull up some of the timing sheets and just talk through some of the mess that these practice sessions have presented us so far. So wonderful news for Zach, who's been hyping Max Verstappen as a potential second tier A driver all week. He was at the top of the timesheets. Both McLarens looking quite strong, but it was the Mercedes rebound in FP3. Both Russell and Antonelli looking good. That's probably really giving you some good reason to be happy, Zach.
Yeah, practice 3, it couldn't have gone any better. I'd been screaming out for this Mercedes pace the entire weekend, and their Friday was just so dreadful. It was really getting me worried, because even at one point before practice 3, I was even thinking to myself, well, hang on a second, I might have to push back on the looking at free times in Kota, because I might have to just stick with a Ferrari build or a Red Bull build if Mercedes just don't show us anything. And now the key thing I want to take away from this is, do I think Mercedes are in the fight for pole position or even top threes? Probably not. I still don't think the pace is exactly there for them even after that. But with these sorts of results, I'm happy now to be able to go with a bit of confidence and go, they're both like 99% going to be in the top 10, which is the main thing as a constructor for Mercedes, getting those points in F1 Fantasy. And then anything after that is just a plus for me.
Terry, I want to talk to you a little bit about Ferrari. We can see them at the bottom of the top 10 here, which is lower than they were in free practice 1 and 2. From watching the session, it looked like, particularly in the case of Leclerc, he was running race pace simulations for most of the session, had one shot at a flying lap, which is what you see here. Then the tire fell away and he couldn't really put any fast laps up after that. So is P10 really indicative of where Charles Leclerc is, or is there a chance that Ferrari could have a little bit more pace up their sleeve?
I think they got more pace. I think the running is all over the place with long runs, soft runs. When they were going, it didn't look like anybody got a really clean run throughout the whole weekend, if I'm honest, in terms of what they got. I think there's more pace in the Ferrari. How much more, I don't know. That Mercedes pace is always that big question mark, isn't it? We always hear that. The conditions for FP3 aren't going to really be simulated in qualifying in the race itself, so you kind of have to take that with the pinch of salt that it comes with it, with Mercedes engines and hot weather, don't you? So there's always that caveat as well. I'd always add to that. So I think that Ferrari's got enough pace to be in amongst it. I'm not too sure I'm seeing anything which suggests anything other than the two McLarens and Max going for pole, if I'm honest. Unless, of course, there's a red flag or an incident that brings it out. But that's where my head's at in terms of the fastest cars. And then I think it's going to be close on who hooks it up on the lap to get a decent qualifying position. I think the rest is going to be whatever happens in Q3, to be honest.
Rounding out the top 10 here, some guys that we've seen in our lineups the last few weeks with Sainz and Hadjar. Really good to see them consistently here. I know a lot of us are going to be banking on Sainz in that 0.6 million cost cap game this week, so he's looking good. Previous race winner around this circuit, and also a P4 back in his early stage of his career with Toro Rosso. So Sainz is quite good here. Now, if you come all the way down, a couple of storylines here. First off, Aston Martin seems to have come crashing back to earth after Fernando Alonso is really lighting up the timing sheets in FP1, FP2. I think he's going to be a popular question this week because who knows if, like you said, Terry, FP2 is the more representative session because of the weather, but he did come pretty far down in FP3. So does it come out in the wash and maybe he's just on the fringe of points, or is there extra pace in that Aston Martin?
I think there's pace. If you look at Budapest, which is quite a similar track, there was pace in the Aston Martin there. If you listen to Andy Cowell on the pit wall as well, he talks a lot about how they're running through a set sequence in pre-practice 3. So I think we've got to take it that they didn't do the push laps. They didn't go for the low fuel runs. They didn't go for any of the glory runs anyway. So I think we've got to add that into that timing screen a bit there and kind of go back towards the Budapest style where you'd expect them to be in and around the top 10, I'd say. Rather than being as far down as what we're seeing there for FP3. Whether or not it's both drivers, just one, is the big unknown with Aston Martin, isn't it?
And then last and possibly least, Liam Lawson crashing in FP2 and FP3. He's one of the most likely drivers to go up in value this week, but I think those consecutive crashes have me just firmly staying away from them. This is a circuit where we had a safety car every race up until last season, and Lawson could be the one that brings it out this week. So I'm avoiding Liam, but does he give either of you any intrigue?
Yes.
Really? Is that you wore the V-carb time?
No, it's the first one I picked out of the wardrobe. But no, I mean, if you look at his run, his 2 crashes, yes, he's crashed twice, and I know that, there's question marks on it, but it's a track where he's raced before and he's actually done okay on. That one just looked a bit of one of those, it just happened, didn't it, where he just caught the curb. Yes, it could happen in a race, but actually, realistically, I mean, no one's really hyping up the fact that George Russell banged it into the wall more yesterday. And everyone seems to think that he'll bounce back. Whereas when it's someone like Liam, everyone's instantly jumped on the bandwagon and gone, no, not going to pick him. Saying that he's probably going to put it in the wall. But I don't know. I mean, for me, it's one of those. I think this track's got the potential to catch absolutely everybody out. Do you know what I mean? From the point of view. So yes, he's been unlucky. You kind of hope he might just got out of his system and out of the way. And maybe it's one of those. I don't think there's enough issues in terms of parts or anything like that, or anything untoward with that. So I think his car's going to be rebuilt absolutely fine for qualifying. So I think he'd be good to go. But I think Michael's just put in there. He's got two transfers and Lawson on his team. So yeah. Cross your fingers, Michael.
It's worked well for you the last few weeks. Lawson's been quite good. And Terry has reason to believe we should keep him around. And also, when you look at his teammate Hadjar, up all the way up at the top, there is a chance that it could work out quite well for Liam. He was in the much higher up in the running before some of his incidents in practice too. So
the car looks good, doesn't it? If nothing else, I think the car looks quite solid. I think the V carb looks quite planted around here. I don't think it's certainly got the potential to get points, I'd say, barring obviously the driver input into this here.
All right, we've got some breaking news in the chat that the FP3 sims are out. So let's head over there and digest that a bit. I'm going to refresh my screen.
I have been looking at them, and I was very surprised to still see Norris right at the top.
Yes. So looking here, it's still projected to have Norris at the top with Verstappen and Piastri, basically just a whisper behind them, and really a 1.5 between them all. The big thing here, Russell overtaking Leclerc. That could be big for those of us figuring out which 4A builds intrigue us the most. Hamilton over Leclerc. Interesting to see. Alonso down a little bit. He was previously at 13, but still a lot of respect for him.
Yeah, that's still very high.
Is it bad to lock my lineup and be full of sims come out?
I mean, at this point, we're really throwing some darts at the board anyway. Yuki Tsunoda came crashing back to Earth after a tricky FP3. And then coming all the way down here, it looks like not a lot of love for the Haas. Lawson, not a lot of love for him either.
Yeah.
The crashes spoke loudly in the latest.
Mike.
Interestingly, now, when you look at the constructors, a big crapshoot between Ferrari, Red Bull, Mercedes, only a few points between them all. Ferrari probably just a little bit ahead of Mercedes because of that fastest pit stop possibility. Not really in the cards for Mercedes most weeks, where Ferrari could have two drivers that are lower in the running order, get the fastest pit stop, and then still put up a respectable week. But it goes to show you any of these would work.
Ouch. I just put mine in to see what it's predicting. We just move on, shall we? Very swiftly.
Terry's gonna have a stiff drink during the live show. Here we go.
Well, to be honest, I went with the Sims last time out, and I didn't final fix Max in, so I'm now refusing to go with the Sims out of principle. So I'm just doing my own thing now. So I'm really sorry, Fancy Tools. I know you do a fantastic job, but I'm going against you on this one, and I'm just doing my own.
They're in timeout for a little bit for you, Terry.
That's it. They're in the naughty corner because whilst I was wandering around the Aston Martin factory, I was just thinking, should I have fixed in Max Verstappen, and completely didn't. So yeah, because I couldn't use my phone, which was really annoying.
Oh my goodness. Looking over at the betting lines, very similar trend here. For the first time in a long time, Max Verstappen at the top of the race winner odds. More good news for Zach as he's lining up a team that has that there. You've got both McLarens and then Mercedes, Ferrari, Mercedes. So another validation here that George Russell could have a better weekend than Charles Leclerc. Lots of love still for Alonso if anybody wants to give him a shout, but he is pretty much a lock to lose 0.6 million. So I don't love him this week. You've got to have really, you're going to be in no man's land for budget building to want to take that chance with Hadjar and Sainz at the bottom here of the top 10.
I would like to briefly mention something. We have a new member.
We do?
Yes.
You're not going to say who it is?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, right. Vishnu, thank you very much.
Thank you, Vishnu. We really appreciate you helping out this show. It means a lot to us.
Suspense there was amazing. It was like, when these calls in there.
And now that means,
and
that means now, Vishnu, you can submit your lineup through the special page that'll get it presented on the screen. But for everybody else, if you want to have your lineup reviewed, feel free to just throw it in the chat, and we will get to them at some point throughout the show. I see, speaking of members, our friend BZ is in the chat. Hey, Brian. Saw you were traveling this morning, so glad you could spend a few minutes with us.
I'd like to briefly show the poll as well that I've had going on as well. So while we've been talking for this first little bit, we've got who will be your second constructor in F1 Fantasy. Just trying to get a glimpse of what everyone's feeling coming into it. And 62% are going over to Mercedes.
Ooh.
Bear in mind, Ferrari's at 18%, Red Bull at 13%, and other, so like Aston, V-Carb, whatnot, 7%.
Oh.
Mercedes have really turned people towards them after that FP3.
That's incredible. I'm just going to head over to the budget builder just to see if anything got really disrupted there.
Is that a cat? Who's got a cat?
Yeah, that's my bad. Yeah, it's the cat meowing at the door. He's quite loud.
Yeah, when you think of it, I imagine it. I'm like, did you see a cat? Bear in mind, I haven't got a cat.
Oh,
you know.
Also, Rebecca's now become a member as well.
Thank you, Rebecca. Promise we're talking, Formula One fancy, not cats anytime soon.
Oh,
wow.
Adam. Oh, I think Adam's muted himself.
Oh, Adam's muted himself.
It's probably for the better anyway.
Oh my God, were you saying bad things about cats?
For your membership as well. That's fantastic. And this is around the time of the show where the cat and I would like you to hit the like button if you haven't already. I did Terry so proud by getting us to 100 likes on our last live stream without him milking you throughout the course of the hour 4, but now he's back in full effect. So make sure you hit the like button. Hello to our feline friend.
Oh my word.
Debbie wants to know who's better, Leclerc or Russell. And Debbie, I'm juggling this right now. It looks like if you are to go by the Sims and the betting lines, they're leaning toward George Russell.
Mr. Invisible himself.
Mr. Invisible. I mean,
he is. Come on. I mean, we don't see George like all the way through the race or all weekend. And then when we get to like last 10 laps, we all suddenly realise that George is in a podium position. That's been the story of the season. And that's not disrespecting George at all, by the way, because whatever he does gets himself into there. But he just literally just appears out of nowhere, like that Homer Simpson meme in the bush where they just come out. That's George Russell. Because you see nothing at all. Then suddenly, like, how did George Russell get there? And that's why actually I'd be inclined to go with it. You know, Sims having Ferrari, leapfrogs, I think that's an interesting thing as well. Yeah, it's one of those, isn't it? I'm not too sure on that one.
I got to imagine, Andrew, it's just the pit stops. Because and probably the delta between Hamilton and Antonelli. So I think they're thinking Russell, Hamilton, Leclerc, and then a drop, Antonelli, and then the pit stop points. It's the only thing I can think of.
100%. It's just, I think, especially when Mercedes, Red Bull, Ferrari are all like pinned to be quite close on points, it will always lead me, I think, a bit more back to Mercedes just because of how much they offer to like move your team around. Because like Ferrari now, with them being over 30 million, it's a lot of money to push up for a second constructor that isn't looking like it will do any better anywhere.
Yeah.
For me, part of that Mercedes versus Ferrari debate is just, can I use another transfer? I just can't at this point. I like Mercedes better, but I'm already trying to shuffle my team so much I couldn't dare take a -20 to then also move Ferrari into Mercedes.
This is quite an interesting one. So obviously with Piastri going down in budget like 100% this weekend, there is a big question on who do you ×2 or who do you even bring in as a single A-tier driver if you can only afford that. Is it Piastri or Verstappen?
I'd say it depends on what you're trying to do. If you're trying to keep pace in the global league, most of us are going to have Verstappen. Let's go over the elite data here. I mean, most of us are going to have Piastri. Look at that. 78%, 80% have him as the 2X driver. A little chunk with Lando and then an even smaller chunk with Max. So if you're just trying to keep pace, stick with Piastri. If you're trying to make a move in a mini league, we've got so many people that have reached out that said, I'm P3, I'm P4, I'm trying to make moves. How do I do it? That's a Max week.
He's looking ominous, isn't he? I mean, we come into this one where the Red Bull traditionally struggles around Singapore. It's not a track which it performs that well at, and yet Max is in amongst it in every session, which is unusual for Max at Singapore as well, which kind of makes you wonder, when you start talking tenths and you start talking close, that's when Max becomes the difference maker for me. That's when actually that's when his skill, his ability comes to the forefront, because if he's got a car that's capable, you go Max all day long in terms of driver ability, getting it on pole and win the race. So suddenly he becomes that factor, doesn't he? Whereas before, when the car wasn't performing, there's enough pace, or there was enough pace early season in the McLarens to kind of compensate for it, to compensate for that lack of Max, I should say, in terms of what it brings through. So for me, with him being so in amongst it, you kind of got to fancy him this weekend. And he likes knocking these records off, doesn't he? As much as he sits there and goes publicly, I don't think about him. He does. He likes knocking these things off, saying that, you know, he's won at every track. That's a typical Max thing, especially when he's not in the hunt for the championship as such. If he wins this, he gets back in the hunt, doesn't he? And then, you know,
at the very least, there's this statistic that's been going around the last few years. Laps led at Singapore. It's Max Verstappen has 3 and Antonio Giovinazzi has 4.
Yeah,
so
and
he has a chance to break from that.
Start to finish, Max, though, is it? It's just screaming now, isn't it? For 60-odd laps of Max Verstappen at the front, isn't it? To just literally rewrite everything, because that is a typical Max thing, isn't it? So, yeah, I mean, I think it's exciting to see him back in the hunt. I think it's exciting to see him driving without pressure at the moment. I think it's helping him. I listened to a bit about Jenson Button's talk about it earlier, and you could see the point he was getting at, that you've got a Max who isn't being hampered by expectations at the moment and can just kind of just drive and do his own thing, which I think he's showing in what he's doing as well. And this Red Bull reset that's been happening. When the only teams to bring something new with them this weekend, that new front nose looks aggressive, looks like it's doing what it needs to do, is putting him back into play, isn't it? So, yeah, it's going to be interesting, I think.
It's What pushes me a little bit more to the Verstappen play as well is it's definitely still the differential, just because we know McLaren like they're gonna be fast. Like they could have been 19th and 20th in these practice sessions, and I still would have backed them to be both within the top 5.
Yeah,
but Verstappen, just with how important quali is here in Singapore as well, and just how good he is on that 1 lap pace. If he's on pole and he keeps it within the first corner, I don't think you can get past him again.
No, it's not a track which can do it, is there? Michael's saying about this penalty for Hamilton. I'm not seeing anything official about a penalty. I wonder if the Sims have just loaded one in based on what it is. But let me just check to make sure there's nothing.
Come back. Let's take a look. Ooh, look at this. Yeah, so there's Singapore FP3 and then Singapore FP3 Hamilton 5-place penalty, I imagine.
5 place? Wow.
It's a guess.
This
isn't news. I think this is buffering.
Yeah, they put a factor in. The FIA haven't made a decision yet on Lewis Hamilton. It's still under summons. There's nothing from the documents yet to say what it is. So I think they've just built one in rather than just assuming that he has one.
So let's see. Hamilton with a potential penalty, they're saying 19 points. Hamilton without a potential penalty, 15.9 points. So
it makes me why it takes so long, though, isn't it? Why does it take so long to make a decision on these things? They have one incident to look after, and this is where it gets really frustrating, because you've got one incident. They've had the whole of the free practice to look at it as well. They've got a whole centre back in Geneva. It's not just the stewards at the track. Once they're investigating, it goes all the way back to the control centre in Geneva to have a look at it. There's absolutely no reason why this should be taking so long to get to a decision over what they're doing, whatever they decide to do. If he's guilty, he's getting a grid penalty. Simple as that. It's a red flag incident. There's no get out for this. If they find Lewis guilty, he's having a grid penalty of some sort. It's just a case of whether or not they're finding him guilty.
Yeah, and this doesn't have ramifications for our fantasy lineups. This impacts Ferrari and their run plan and qualifying. So it is meaningful to the outcome of this weekend that they figure it out soon, so Ferrari can get their plan straight. All right, let's head over. There's also one question on a tab that I haven't opened yet. Weather for tomorrow. This is a nighttime race, and it looks like only little specks of rain and in the early afternoon. So I'm not terribly worried about what things will look like in terms of precipitation at the race. It'll be a bit later in the day when the rain has calmed down, but do keep an eye on that heat. The driver cooling systems have been implemented for this weekend, and that could impact just the focus and attention of some of these drivers as they avoid those narrow walls on the street circuit. Now, I'm going to queue up the first couple of member lineups here because I think we have some juicy ones. All right, balancing points and budget. You've got, coming into this week, Piastri, double V-carb. You could move to a Verstappen 2X bill, double V-carb. Or you could do a mix where you go down to a tier B constructor, pick your poison of V-carb or Williams, with Piastri Verstappen. So the question is, can Verstappen alone make up the ground between V-carb and the likes of Ferrari?
From what we've seen so far, potentially.
I think
very much potentially.
That's a big question, isn't it? I mean, if V-carb get both cars in and around the points, and suddenly in there, and something happens to a Ferrari or a Mercedes, then actually it works if both Max and Oscar end up finishing the race on the podium. You'd expect one of those to potentially drive of the days, potentially. So it's an interesting one, isn't it?
I quite like this team. Yeah, it's one of those teams where I'll talk about the budget again, because it's 122.3 and it's in that range again where I quite like talking about it, where it's like you need to go for these bold moves now if you're at this budget to try to stay on. And a team like Piastri, Verstappen with McLaren Williams, McLaren Racing Bulls is exactly that, because there is a chance that one of those teams outperforms, sticks it close enough to Ferrari or Mercedes or Red Bull, and then you're laughing if you have Piastri and Verstappen.
A lot to consider here. Does anyone think that there's merit in the second lineup here? It looks like all three of these, you have to have some amount of faith in Liam Lawson, either as a driver or in the constructor.
I'll probably put more faith in him as a constructor than as a driver.
And VCarb does get the sneaky fastest pit stop from time to time. So
they do. I mean, I mean, to be honest, I'm not going to preempt my team, but let's just say I would lean at Team 3. Might give you an idea where my team went.
I think I agree, though. I agree on Team 3. I think there's not a big enough gap between like a Racing Bulls Williams compared to a Ferrari or a Mercedes, unless Mercedes really do have that FP3 pace. But yeah, that's just the risk you'd have to take.
Yeah.
All right, looking at Race Maven, combination of points and budget again.
Ooh.
Lots of love for Aston Martin here. See,
this is
Was that before the Sims though? Just thinking before.
It was probably, I think Race Maven submitted this before the Sims, because if we go back here, Aston Martin.
It's quite a nice team to still be able to work around, because I think the gist of it is we'd just switch over Aston to either Williams or Racing Bulls, whichever one you prefer, and then work from there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say if you can afford this, you'd probably want the budget gain of VCarb on comparable points, because you have so many budget builders for Verstappen, Bortoletto, Sainz, maybe even Hadjar with a good result here.
It comes down to that question again of who's the 2 times, Verstappen or Piastri. Now, I can't be hypocritical here, and I think this is going to give a little bit of hint to what my team looks like. I do still think Piastri 2 times is the consistent, nice option. I think that gives a view into what I'm thinking over Verstappen if you do have both of them.
And Rick, too, think back to the question we posed earlier. What is your goal for this week? Is it to keep pace in the global league, and then you just want to ride the wave with the likes of Piastri as your 2X driver, or are you P3, P4 in your maybe your home league or your friends league, and you're trying to make a splash? Then I would aim for Verstappen.
It's a tough one, isn't it? Because if Max wins, the 2X is going to look like an absolute genius call, isn't it? Yeah, and it literally is a flip of a coin, isn't it? Do you go 2X Max and he wins, and suddenly you laugh into the bank? We got to repeat the last 2 races, or do you keep it on Oscar, hoping that Max is going to do enough to get in amongst the podiums, but Oscar's going to be your winner? He's looked the better out of the 2 McLaren drivers, looked the more settled one. He's going to pick up your 2 points, but you're going to get those points from Max also being on the podium. So I think that's where my head is probably with Zach on that one. I'd still be inclined at the moment to go with Oscar, but if you want to make a difference, to be honest, Rick, if your team's making a difference like that going into VCarb territory and that side of it, you know, why not go all in? You're going to do it.
Something to bring up as well, which is like adds a little bit of spice to this option as well, is I've set up a poll for the best 2 times option this weekend. And so far, 64% have put Verstappen over 34 to Piastri, 2% to Norris. So it also brings up the fact that could Piastri actually be ending up as a 2 times differential?
Yeah.
If the poll's going this way, which then it also becomes quite an interesting take of maybe that's why you could stick with Piastri.
It's so interesting. And ever since Red Bull made that floor update prior to Monza, Max has been an absolute monster. And seeing him look good in a very different circuit at Singapore, it really feels like Red Bull have totally corrected everything, and Max could launch himself back into the championship discussion. So this is a big weekend, both on the grid and for F1 Fantasy.
But it's a big weekend for Oscar as well, isn't it, after what happened in Baku? So that also makes me wonder if a bounce back's on the card as well, because this is a huge test to his character, probably the biggest one that we've seen from him in terms of how he's reacted. And so far, he's actually reacted really well to it from what we've seen so far. You kind of wonder, is this going to be an Oscar show where he's just like, I'm going to put everything behind me and go for it, and then ends up with that results that we saw last year with obviously Lando and McLaren as well. So that's the danger here, isn't it? That if Oscar decides to go on one of those and you've got Max as your 2-time driver, that's the issue here for me. I just think that, you know, Oscar looks calm, collected. He wants to bounce back. So it's one of those where I would still be tempted to keep my 2X on him. But then in some way, Rick's thinking with being different. And I think someone else has put in the chat, Zeno's just put in the chat that a lot of people have changed, you know, over switching to Max times 2 because they got Piastri times 2. It would be something different. And a bit like last week with the final fix, where when Adam played it, that actually those things can make such a difference if they go your way. They both ways. If you get it wrong, they absolutely put on your team, but if you get them right, they absolutely rocket your team. So I think we're now getting to the stage of the season where we're seeing a lot of that as well, where these little decisions now start having monumental effects on where you are, both budget, standing, everything now, because it's so compact in the middle of the fantasy league. That's why Ben's out of the way. That's why Ben's out of the way for dropping.
It's good. The vent validates me a bit because all of my lineup options are max free, just because I can't wiggle my team into Verstappen, so I need Piastri to bounce back this week. And I think it's going to be very telling for the championship if he can respond so well. But if he starts to tail off, he could be in some trouble.
Yeah. Something to keep an eye on as well is, we've had a lot of comments come through about it, is obviously the option to autopilot.
Yep.
If any of this happens. Now, autopilot, I like the idea of it. But I was actually talking to Chile on Twitter, and they mentioned the fact that be careful with this sort of stuff, because we've also got tracks like Brazil coming up where we could have the exact same situation coming about, and there's also like 70% chance of rain. So it is a half decent option, but I think there's going to be better options out there considering where we are right now in the season. It looks like every race weekend's going to be like this, where we're like, oh, who do we 2 times? Piastri, Verstappen, Norris, etc. So I think with the way it's going, keep that in mind.
Would you like a Lewis Hamilton update?
Oh,
I'd
yes,
love
please.
a Lewis Hamilton update.
No further action for Lewis Hamilton.
Ah, okay, nice.
Well, there you have it.
Oh, we have another lineup come through as well.
Oh,
yes, I see, and I think we've got double barrel action here. So Rebecca posted in the chat question she had posted to you earlier, Zach: Piastri, Verstappen, Hadjar, Bortoleto, Gasly, McLaren, Mercedes, no penalty, or Bortoleto for Sainz and a -10. Because if Sainz throws it top 5 or 6 again, that would be worth it.
Will he though?
Oh, I remember what I said to this as well. I remember, yes, Sainz definitely. I still agree with what I said, where it was like, Sainz is the budget move for easy, safe budget. But at the end of the day, I don't think Sainz is getting a podium this time out. So let's say he gets a 5th or a 6th. I don't think that's going to be 10 plus more points than Bortoleto. And Bortoleto is still pretty safe for that budget increase at 2 points. So I think I'm happy to sit on just keeping Bortoleto over Sainz if it takes a -10.
I agree. And because Rebecca's looking at that same sort of budget that you're at, Zach, I don't think she's desperate for the 0.6 million out of Sainz. She's already got a lot of really flexible options there. So I would keep Bortoleto. All right. Let's see.
What's in the chat? Can you show your teams? Not until we get some more likes.
Yes.
Yeah, we're on 61 likes. Let's try and get it to what?
Yeah.
What do we normally do?
Let's play the game.
75, 80? Yeah.
Let's play the game bit. Come on.
I have just hit the submit button on my lineup in the app, so I'm ready to show mine shortly. All right. Hardly Racing. This is going to be one of our new members here. Current is a pretty typical budget build. This is almost exactly what I had last time out.
Yeah, I think to be fair, team 1 is almost same as mine. I just had Oscar instead of Lando in there.
Couple of -10 options here with Russell and Mercedes, or Verstappen and VCarb, both bringing in Sainz. Oh boy. So I'm going to pop back over. I'm going to do some quick math over on the team calculator. Let's
is that Mercedes, isn't it? Is that Mercedes VCarb one we talk about? Because I would go Max over George straight off, but then it's the VCarb Mercedes difference, isn't it? Which is going to be the factor here, isn't it, for that team?
Yeah, it's almost 30 points difference between Mercedes and VCarb. Can Verstappen cover Russell by 30 points?
Verstappen would have to win. I'd say second team for me on that one. Just because I'm still not 100% on Lawson. And also at the point where Russell's so good at sneaking in, like we've talked before. Like you said, Mr. Invisible. Getting into that top 5, like I would not be surprised if Russell all of a sudden after this race weekend's got like a P4, P3, P5, and that's good enough. Absolutely. That is good enough.
134.8. That's a nice budget too. Just going to hit refresh one more time. Make sure we don't have anybody else new. All right, good. We'll pop back over to this view. Maybe I'll come over to the budget builder in case anybody wants to see what's going on the budget side.
Oh, wow. I think we've got to get our team sorted here. Yeah, we've hit over
100 likes.
Yeah.
All right, I'm a man of my.
For it.
To be fair, mine's already out, so it's a bit of a false economy that was.
I'm ready to rumble you guys. All right, so let's talk. Let's talk through the unenviable mess that I have picked for this week.
Ooh.
And here we are. So let's talk through this. I only had 2 free transfers.
We talk about Alpine.
Yeah. I had to take a -10 to bring in double Alpine. Pray for me this week. All right. So the logic here is I think Russell's going to be quite good. I wanted to get into a 4A build and then trying to stay with as many veterans as possible on a circuit where you could have a lot of incidents. So Piastri, Russell, Gasly, Sainz, probably safe as far as a veteran core. I'm just keeping my fingers and toes crossed about Franco. Hopefully he finds himself so far at the back of the grid where he can't hit anything except the wall. And then Mr. Invisible, George Russell. It was between him and Leclerc. I could afford both. Sticking with George Russell this week because I think he's due for another good week.
It's that -10 stuff, isn't it? It's just, they're painful. They are so painful. Very painful.
And I want to give a word of warning about me putting Pierre Gasly on my team. No one else should do this, and I'll tell you why. I had Gasly on my team earlier this season when I needed 0.6. He DNF'd. I did it again. He DNF'd again. And that's really a 1.2 million swing in 2 straight races. And the difference between my budget and the likes of Zach and the high tier budgets, I put him in a 3rd time. And on this stream, I had to take a -10 to pull him out because he almost didn't make it to the start of qualifying. So I'm nervous about Gasly too. Some bad juju with my team.
You've got a bit of a people going crazy over the Ferrari move though. But I agree. I
was just out of moves.
Yeah.
I was out of moves. I couldn't get Sainz in and afford Russell. I'm not going to take a -20 to get to Mercedes. So
yeah, and that's the difference, isn't it? When you start going to -20 to go to that, then it's a problem, isn't it? Yeah, I don't think a move from Ferrari to Mercedes is worth a -10 over, and I think that's the difference, isn't it? Yeah. Matt said who we expect to be strong. Ferrari tend to not do too bad in Kota if they can sort the ride height out and not get disqualified. Would be a good option for them. So yeah, I can see where you're going with it.
Sarah, 44th in the global league. That's fantastic.
Wow.
Okay, let's give this some attention. Piastri, Albon, Lawson, Behrman, Hadjar, McLaren, Ferrari. So cost cap builder, last time out, 3 free transfers. Piastri, Russell, Sainz, Bortoletto, Hadjar, McLaren, Ferrari. That seems totally fine.
We'll get Verstappen in there.
What would that mean in place of Piastri?
I would imagine it'd be a constructor drop, wouldn't it?
Or a constructor drop.
Oh, I see. If I mean, I'm a little bit biased this. We'll see in a second. But yeah, if you can go Piastri, Verstappen with McLaren, Mercedes, I think it's worth trying to get.
Yeah. If you could do that, then you do that and work the rest around it, don't you?
I don't know if she can get there because she's already moving on Albon, Lawson, Behrman.
Oh yeah, it might be Oh, that's a tough one. Yeah, you might have to just stick it out with Ferrari then. Yeah.
There you go. Hold on, she's just commented. Adam would drop to Mercedes. What Piastri for Verstappen?
Oh,
yeah. Or swap Piastri for Verstappen.
Oh, so it'd be Verstappen and Russell. No, hang on. Yeah. Would be a -10. It's these -10s. They're so difficult to just move about. You've got to be so careful with them.
My take on this is if you're keeping pace in the global league, I would do this in pieces. Stick with the lineup you have with Piastri, Russell. Then in Kota, you've got that budget. You'll have your 2 transfers again. Slide it around and then just keep that pressure. Taking a -10, and God forbid something happens to Antonelli with the Mercedes constructor, then all of a sudden you're sliding.
I can tell you as well, just the more I'm looking at the chat, the more I'm looking at Twitter, the more I'm seeing everywhere. I really do think Piastri's becoming the differential 2 times. It's incredible. This is going to be insane to see who ends up coming out on top. So
Look
many
at the
people have gone Verstappen 2 times, yeah.
Zach, take a look at the Terry bomb we
Whoa.
just dropped
Oh,
here.
roll the
Hello.
dice.
Oh, I like that differential play.
Roll the
Antonelli, we
dice.
haven't spoken about him enough.
Roll the dice and let's see where we go.
I think, I love what Antonelli's been building up to. I think a good race this week, he could also be the top tier B driver for Coda, because you could be posting then 2 strong races in a row at a sprint race where you're going to have a higher point ceiling anyway. And then you get your Piastri and Verstappen action.
Absolutely.
Whoa.
And I can final fix any of those 2 out if I have to as well.
Yeah, that's really good.
That's tremendous, Terry.
See, it took me -10, but I thought it was worth it.
That's creative, though.
It also gives me flexibility with Ferrari and Mercedes as well going forward as well. Because my hope is that if something happens there, then I can just make a move with VCarb, hopefully get the budget gain off that as well, and then actually make some moves where I can just swap VCarb out as well for a higher tier constructor. So it's a bit of a gamble, especially with Liam Lawson currently performing as he is. But do you know what? I think actually it's going to be something a little bit different. So let's see where it goes.
Risk it for a chocolate biscuit.
Absolutely.
I love it.
That is
Absolutely.
textbook risk it for the chocolate. Awesome, Terry. I think we have one more lineup in these slides. Let's just make sure we've covered it off. Rebecca. I think we talked about this in the chat, but let's make sure. I think we're probably thinking the Zach special.
Yeah, I still, so it definitely is between the first 2 teams, and then it's about that Bortoletto to Sainz for the -10. So I'm option 1. I'm definitely option 1.
There we go.
Yeah.
Yeah, it all comes down to, with 135.3, you don't have to have Sainz's cost cap, and then you got to go with.
Yeah, I'm not sure the extra cost cap and the -10 is probably worth the points difference you're going to get. To be honest, moving into that.
Race Maven, thank you for the super.
Yeah,
sticker.
incredible.
I can't see it in my chat, but I'm going to go back into YouTube later and take a look at it so I can marvel over which sticker you chose.
Yeah, it was absolutely VCarb over Williams was budget. That was it. That's got 0.3 million left in the bank for that lineup because I spent it on Kimi and moving across to Max. So it was purely a budget thing. But then I also think the car's there as well. So I think if Liam can keep it on the track and not in the wall, I know someone said it's risky, but is it any more risky than going for one of these other teams who's got the potential to put it in the wall, especially lap 1? So yeah, it's one of those.
Rick says, I have 3 free transfers and only use 2, and I get 3 free transfers again next weekend. Yes.
Yes. Yeah, so if you don't need to make the move, Rick, keep it and bank it, because it might come in handy as well, especially some of the moves you were just talking about doing earlier. So it might also be a way to get out of something if you need to as well.
Do we want to show the reveal on my team?
Oh, you're just going to be rubbing in how amazing your lineup is, and you're already in that 4A build.
Sitting pretty, yeah.
Yeah, you wait until turn 1 comes and bites you.
Oh, where is it? Oh, there it is.
So many Zach polls. Look at that beautiful thing. 4A with Piastri Verstappen.
I am buzzing for this team. I can't tell you how excited I am for it. So the gist of it is, yeah, no, I'm not excited about Colapinto. That's like, forget he's even there. Blank that little bit out. But it just looks fantastic. I'm so happy Mercedes were able to bring in a bit of pace, because now, like I've been spouting on about, Piastri, Verstappen, McLaren, they're going to bring in good points no matter what. So something can go wrong in the team and I'll still be half decent. Plus, the gist of it is, with this team, next race weekend in Kota, either if Verstappen looks good again, I just keep him for the extra DRS and I can move Colapinto, Sainz, Bortoletto, whoever I need to move there.
Yeah.
Or I even have the budget now, if everything goes right, to go Piastri, Norris, McLaren, Mercedes for Kota for that extra DRS if McLaren look dominant in Kota. So I'm just really looking forward to see where this team can go. It's such a good foundation for it. And in Singapore, it looks fantastic.
That's tremendous, Zach. Phoenix asked in the chat, no autopilot. That's because we used it earlier this season on a Piastri Norris autopilot.
And a lot of people asking why 2 times on Piastri over Verstappen. Honestly, somehow it's ended up being a differential. But also, also, I just trust, like, from what we've seen so far in FP2 and FP3, FP2, we've had Fernando Alonso go from almost like a differential play to don't go anywhere near. It is just practice. Piastri is the easy safe. We know McLaren are going to be in the top 3. That's why I've gone for it. I don't need to go for anything crazy on the Verstappen 2 times. And there is a chance where that Red Bull just doesn't perform. And there is no world where McLaren's, both of them, aren't in the top 5.
Sarah's come back. She's locked in Piastri, Russell, Bortoleto, Sainz, Hadjar, McLaren, Ferrari. So that's from the number 44 team in the world. Good luck this week, Sarah. We'll be pulling for you.
I see a couple of questions in there as well in flying up about Lawson, Albon, or Behrman. Which one should I pick? I'd avoid Behrman straight off for the budget loss. I think, if I remember rightly, from what I remember from looking at it earlier on this week.
Yeah,
Lawson or Albon, I would probably go Albon.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of us have moved on from Albon because of the cost cap implications, but he's on something like 7 straight races of double-digit points. It's not like there's anything wrong with him.
Yeah, I think it's just because of Sainz's form.
Sainz and where he's been, I think. Yeah, I think it seems to be that most teams aren't going to run with 2 Williams drivers, are they? They're going to run with 1, and Sainz is a cheaper option with more of a budget increase recently. So I don't think it's anything to do with how Alex has been performing, far from it.
I was just looking at Porsche F1. He was the number 2 team in the world last year. He is wild carded into Verstappen 2X with Russell, McLaren, Mercedes.
This is incredible.
The spread is real.
I can't remember the last time. Obviously, I don't think the final fix counts because it was a final fix move. I can't remember the last time a 2 times was moved about this much. This is going to be huge for the rankings. Like, whoever gets this right is moving up a lot.
Yeah. And then this is exactly what I was saying. It's one of these, we're now at that stage now, which one call like this will decide or dictate where you are for the good or the worst, to be honest. It's getting the fun part. It's where the fun part is. If it goes your way. if it doesn't, it's not good fun, is it? But you know. Oh, we got lots of questions. Should we rattle some of these questions? I'm conscious that...
Sure. Yeah, I'm reading through Scott's right now. Scott has a 4A team. Looking to get to a 4A team, but it would cost -10 or a -20. Currently at 133.3, so lots of good 4A options in that budget.
So
McLaren, Ferrari, Piastri, Albon, Hadjar, Behrman, Bortoleto. So very similar to all of us. In my case, I took the -10 and then wiggled my team around into a 4A with Russell and Piastri. You have the budget to get into Leclerc, Hamilton, and Piastri with pretty good Tier B drivers. And for me, that's just getting myself one step closer to having a 4A build guaranteed for Coda, regardless of any carnage that happens this weekend. I wouldn't go as deep as a -20.
No, I always set myself -10 seems to be the most I would go to when I'm making a move. So for me, it was like -10, I can live with that. Anything more than that, it feels like you've got to wait a couple of races to do it. I don't think it's worth, Scott saying a -20. I'm not too sure it's worth a -20 to get to Piastri, Verstappen, McLaren, Mercedes.
It's one of those. Yeah,
it's one of those genuinely, Scott. It's a risk because you need both Mercedes to finish, both McLaren's finish, and you need obviously Piastri and Verstappen on the podium. So if it comes off, you'll get it back. But if it doesn't, yeah, it's one of those.
Terry Hakon's come into the chat. I'm sure he missed you quite a bit last week. Verstappen versus Norris versus Piastri. I imagine we're talking about the 2X. We've not even talked this show about Norris, who's projected to get the most points as a 2X driver. If you have the budget to get into Lando, what about him? Is he now the super differential?
Proved it last year around this track. I mean, I know he hasn't looked himself this week around here, but actually, with regards to Lando, he's got the potential to do it. The car's there, as even by his performances where he's saying they're not up to scratch, it's still pretty good to get something. So if he can unlock it, I would just say he just doesn't look as comfortable as what he has done in the car this weekend. So for me, it's a question mark on whether or not he can do enough. But again, it's something different. I wouldn't put it against, if he gets pole, you'd have to assume Papaya rules would come into play. You'd have to assume all of those factors that we're used to with McLaren would come into it. So actually, if he qualifies higher than Oscar, does that then put Lando in play on that basis alone? You know, get the option for first pit stop, all those things that we know go normally with McLaren and whichever driver is in the lead sort of thing. So it only takes a bit of a messy qualifying or a decent lap for Lando, and suddenly he's on pole, track you can't really get past. I don't see mass overtaking here at all. I think they're going to struggle to overtake, as we know from previous years as well. There's not many opportunities to overtake once it's been settled into. The pit stop isn't that different. I know they've raised the speed limit in the pit lane, knocks about 4 seconds off. It's only really going to be beneficial in a safety car, if I'm honest. It's not going to change you from a one stop. It'll come into play if there's a safety car decision. That's when actually that sort of thing comes into play. But during the race itself, it's still going to be a one-stop strategy where someone will go hard tyres and go long and hope for the safety car. Someone will go mediums, and then someone might even try soft tyres to get a good start, good position, and just hold on basically. So I don't know. Lots to think about.
In all this, McLaren have a much more reasonable target to lock up the Constructors' Championship this weekend. So I think with both Lando and Oscar, they're going to be pushing for it. So it'll be a matter of who can get that fastest lap in Q3. It's ultimately going to decide, I think, the whole weekend.
Yusuf's come in with a team talking about, obviously, I really like it on the sense that it's got Piastri, Verstappen, Mercedes, McLaren, but it's that talking point again of having double Alpine. So Adam, I guess you know a bit about this now.
Join me in the pain and suffering of Pierre Gasly. So I think everybody's got a piece of some of the drivers I'm nervous about. Zach, you've got a piece of Franco Colapinto. Nobody's joining me on the Pierre Gasly train. Maybe I've scared some of you off. But he does have a shout at gaining 0.2 million this week. He does have a decent enough history around this circuit. I think he's been clean through the free practice sessions, and it looks like he has made it out of the reconnaissance lap ahead of qualifying. So more than we can say for the last 2 times that I've run him. Limitless.
Oh, yeah. We haven't really spoken about a Limitless team.
So Limitless, your big question is, who is the 2X driver on a team with both McLarens and Verstappen? That's going to be a big question for you. But if you run those 3 with Russell and pick a Ferrari, with McLaren and pick a Constructor, that could be a fine week.
Yeah, no, definitely, especially this late in the season. I mean, I think the top orders there, like you say, in terms of the 4 or 5 drivers potentially. So,
Zach actually has a question that's right up your alley. Piastri, Leclerc, and Ferrari to Verstappen, Russell, Mercedes for a -10.
For a -10, it depends on is Verstappen going to win the race? That's literally what it depends on. That would make the -10 worth it, but it's such a risk. Like I keep saying, just there's so many times we've had practice sessions, like in Monza, where Ferrari have looked half decent, then they come in and then they're 5th and 6th or whatnot, where they were. It's a big risk going for Verstappen over one of the McLaren duos. Now, I do agree it's a great differential for if you're looking at those, like if you're lower on budgets or you're lower on the global ranks than you want to be, and you just want to just risk it for the chocolate biscuit, go for it. But I just haven't seen anything to suggest why we would want to look away from Piastri just now. Piastri looks so calm, and in that McLaren that looks still better than the Red Bull, I still have faith in Piastri pushing forward.
Just to answer Michael's chat, I'm seeing nothing that says that Lawson isn't running in qualifying. So I can only assume that they've got enough parts, they've got the car up and running. There's nothing to suggest he won't be. Whether or not they're still working on it, I don't know. But from what I can see, there's nothing suggesting that he's not. He's out of it at the moment, put it that way. So I think he's safe to still take part in it.
Just want to give a public shout out to our friend Ewan, who is joining me on the Russell Pierre Gasly train.
Oh, I need to see this.
Fantastic. All right. We have just 5 minutes left to lock in our teams. What other questions do you have? Is there anything else you need to get your team ready? Because this is going to be a big one. We're setting up for COTA in 2 weeks, the next sprint weekend. We don't want to be too out of sorts because there's a lot of points on the table and the potential for the extra DRS boost. It's going to be real. This is a really critical point of the season.
Yeah. That was like one of our first talking points, wasn't it? Where we were like, we need to set up for COTA as well. So,
oh yeah, I didn't think about that. I just went my head much.
You do still have the 3x, 2x option on your team, Terry. So still plenty of good there.
I mean, you know, there is that option, I suppose. Maybe I should just check the 3x on max just to really differentiate for this weekend. Maybe that's what I should just do. Check a 3x on max and 2x on Oscar.
You know what you do? You would probably. This is still.
Let's see what that does. Next
Are we still doing the?
that could be epic. That could be monumental if that pays off.
Is that Red Bull League still going on for the street circuits? You could be quite good using the 3x this weekend.
It could be. It's tempting. I must admit, it's tempting to go actually because I think it'd be between Oscar and Max. So, how long have I got?
4 minutes.
4 minutes. Where else would I use the 3x if I don't use it here?
Actually, wants to know Merc or Red Bull.
True.
So, Zach, let me ask you. You've probably picked Mercedes over Red Bull because it enables the budget to do other things. But budget aside, would you pick Red Bull over Mercedes?
It's also a points thing, to be fair. Like, if we were going off solely FP2, I'd be Red Bull over Mercedes if I had the budget for it. But at the end of the day, from what we've seen from Mercedes, especially in FP3, I'm confident in both of them being in the top 10. I'm not confident in both Red Bulls being in the top 10. And that is like, we've got to remember in F1 Fantasy for the constructors, I believe it's an extra, this is going to bring in my remembering the point scoring. I believe it's an extra 10 points if both get into the top, into Q3 as a constructor. I believe it might be 5. However, that big difference of a points is still better than if Verstappen got pole and Yuki got 18th. Like if Russell was in P5 and Antonelli was P8, that would score more than just alone in qualifying, not taking the race into effect. And that's why, because then again, you're pinning it all your eggs in that Verstappen winning basket, which is looking good, but it's also very risky.
Absolutely.
Fair play. And our friend Rob has split the difference between our teams, Zach. Verstappen, Russell, McLaren, Mercedes with Pierre Gasly.
Ooh. It's incredible. I'm loving how many Verstappen 2 times there are. Now, obviously for me, I'm hoping it goes Piastri's way. But we'll see.
I just need everybody to finish this race. As long as we don't get saddled with a ton of DNFs, we can all survive this weekend.
Absolutely.
It's just a matter of the fine margins on points. I can't have a sub 100 point week because half of my team crashed into itself.
Mo, I would get a coin out and flip it very quickly.
Piastri or Verstappen. The world is literally split on it, Mo. So that means there's no wrong answer if you pick one or the other.
Yeah. Hakon says, is the McLaren good at COTA? I'd say they're good pretty everywhere now. But I'd say it's fair to say I think we're seeing that Red Bull have definitely unlocked something, is what I would say. But I think it's a definite. I think what it is you've got a combination now of teams turning off developments as well. So Red Bull have brought development, and the reason I think they've been able to catch up is because McLaren have actually switched their development off so early on in the season, ready for next year, that they just haven't brought anything that brings them up. So I think that's what we're seeing a lot of as well. So I think if it was a normal season with not much new regulations, it might be a different story that McLaren would have been developed. But I think they've just let it run exactly how it is without bringing minimal to it to put them in the best position for 2026, which when you've got a dominant car like they've had all season is the smart thing to do, isn't it, really?
Yeah.
And with that, we have finished the fastest hour of my whole week. Thank you all so very much for joining. Good luck this weekend. I wish everybody no DNFs at all.
Good luck, everyone.
We have a stress-free weekend. We'll all be back for COTA in 2 weeks, and then we have some chips to unpack. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you soon.
Take care, everyone.
See you soon, everyone.